Namaste everyone. My name is Omkar. So HSS Shakha welcomes you all to celebrate Science Day today. Uh, I would like to tell you a few words about our Shakha. So we meet every Friday from 6 to 7:30 p.m. At the moment virtually via Google Meet. So the same link that we have joined today. A bit of background about our Shakha. So we try and include different activities like physical exercises, intellectual and analytical games in our Shakha. There are also discussions on various topics in every Shakha. So, for example, we have had some debates or discussions on education system in Germany. At the same time, also some technical topics, so like security and data privacy for social media. So a lot of interesting things to talk about and exchange our ideas with each other. We have also celebrated different festivals, so like Makar Sankrant, Shiv Jayanti, and many others in the past. With this, we would like to request you all to join our Shakha regularly via the same Google Meet link. Moving on to our today's event. So as everybody knows that National Science Day is celebrated on 28th of February every year in India. This day recalls the notable invention called as Raman effect by India's greatest scientist C.V. Raman. He was the first Indian person to win the Nobel Prize in the field of science for his work on the scattering of light. This day is basically celebrated as one of the main science festivals in India, I would say, every year. And the purpose of this day is to display all the activities, efforts, achievements in the field of science for welfare of human beings. At the same time, the purpose is also to discuss all the issues, implement new technologies for the development of science, and also to give opportunity to the scientific-minded citizens in the country. And today's Shakha is also one such attempt to spread the message on significance of science and its application in the daily life of people. So our next speaker for today is Dr. Yelloji Rao Mirajkar. He's joining us from New Jersey, USA. He has completed his PhD from Indian Institute of Science, Bangalore, and he did his postdoctoral work at Columbia University, New York. And he also has several patents to his credit. He's currently convener of GIST. So GIST stands for Global Indian Scientists and Technocrats. He is also member of Board of Overseers, Hindu University of America, and today he'll talk about the whole GIST forum and give us a more idea about GIST. Just a quick info with those who don't know what GIST is. GIST is a forum for global Indians. So, for example, technologists, researchers, scientists that are passionate and interested in contributing to the sustainable development of India. With this, I request Yelloji Rao to please continue with his talk.
So, dhanyavad to everyone. And I've been asked to introduce GIST. The acronym of the GIST stands for Global Indian Scientists and Technocrats Forum. And this is a wing of Vijnana Bharati. The sole purpose here is the people of Indian origin, like me and others, scientists, technocrats, maybe some of the corporations, maybe entrepreneurs, they all have mindset to give back to Bharat. So how can we do it? So Vijnana Bharati thought of this and created a platform. And the goal is to connect and engage the scientific and technology diaspora that is present outside Bharat, and through Vijnana Bharati, help and contribute for the development of rural areas. The concept was thought more than a decade ago, and there was a launch event held in later part of 2010 when our former president, late Abdul P.J. Kalam, APJ Abdul Kalam, launched the event with his speech. What is interesting in that occasion is former chairman of Department of Energy, Dr. Anil Kakodkar, he painted what GIST should look like and why. So the first question is why? Because 10 years ago, India had started its baby steps towards the economic progress, and therefore inclusive development of everyone should be focused to address larger fraction of Bharat, that is the weaker population. And therefore, the role of GIST forum is identify problems that need solutions and engage, work out for the required solution and its implementation. Obviously, it is not a one-to-one task, and obviously, it is organized conventions, seminars, webinar, understand the current status in terms of what is the nature of the problem, what kind of solutions can come, and figure out and identify collectively what are the developmental needs and the priorities, and what kind of strategy is required, how the ideas can exchange from point A to point B to implementation level, conduct some case studies locally, share success stories, and whatever the success comes out of this can be duplicated, replicated across the country, as the country then was about 120 plus crores, and today it is 130 plus crores. It's a vast population spread across north and south and east and west of Bharat. So what does this platform mean? In simple layman's language, it's a meeting point between opportunities and the solutions. I don't want to say as the problems, I would rather say it as the opportunity, or I would say it as a challenge. And only then we would be able to come up with the positive energy in ourselves and in the teams with which we work and with the companies with which we work and the agencies and the bodies through which we collaborate. So what are our resources? Staying away like 5, 6, 7, 8,000 miles away from Bharat, we still want to give back. So we need to understand what do we have in our plate to offer. The first thing is the scientists and technocrats diaspora. That makes 2. The third one is academicians and the institutions. That's the third. And nowadays, entrepreneurs, they have this corporate social responsibility, abbreviated as CSR in all these times, and their involvement. And also there are many people who have the mindset to give it back to Bharat, but I'm not a scientist, I'm not a technocrat, I'm not an academician, but there can be philanthropists and also obviously interested individuals as well as the organizations. This is our resources. The GIST scientific and technology diaspora residing outside for the platform, these are the resources that we can provide, right? Now, if you put them all together, either it would be individuals or the academicians or the companies or the organizations. So what all of these people can give, you go whatever way you dissect, however way you dissect, there are going to be only 3 ways. You have time to give, you have talent to give, and you have treasure to give. Especially in the case of philanthropists, that is the most prevailing contribution that they can think of, right? Now, if this is the resources or the solution providers, what are the opportunities? Who are they? They could be government agencies, local, central, intermediary, from Anganwadi, everybody. There is also opportunity for research organizations. I'll tell a little bit more about what the challenges these research organizations are facing today. Academic institutes, lots of NGOs, thousands and thousands. And there may be many subject matter experts right in the ground. However, a little bit of collaboration and partnership will make them effective and efficient and able to provide the solutions that needs to be tweaked to different rural areas in Bharat. Now, having said that, What does the platform brings? Essentially, time, talent, resources. This is our expertise that has been accumulated over the period of years. Some people may be retired like me. Some people may be still working, but they feel that I have a lot of energy. I want to give it back to Bharat. So their experience comes handy. And also many people, we know our Bharat. We have left Bharat maybe 1, 5, 10, 15, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 40 years ago. And we feel that we should contribute by giving transfer of our knowledge and experience. Today, at individual levels, it is very difficult to see where and to whom we can talk into so that our experience and knowledge would be utilized. And also, we know, we have read, we have heard, but the real ground zero scenarios, we exactly do not know. The people who are there in those rural areas, they're the subject matter expert. They would be able to understand what the solution is available and how that could be implemented, and they will try. So all these things is what the common platform in terms of problems meeting solutions can bring. Down the road, we need to impress by showing our talent, that we have mindset to work with you. We are not aliens, we are not strangers, we are not foreigners. We are also equally concerned, just like you, to contribute to the development of the Bharat. The weaker population, rural areas are focus. So when I say impress is upon that, it is not about my credentials, others' credentials, or no. The impressing part is about the hungry eagerness to contribute and give it back to Bharat. And if we break that ice, then we would be able to influence them to test it in their field of area, and also influence through them with other such peoples in the local areas. End of the journey, it has to be meaningful. Only way it will be meaningful provided there is some perceivable impact one way or the other. Now, as a gist, we always want to ask questions, because if I know where I have to go, then I can go there. If I don't have the answer in terms of what we can do, then we are not going anywhere. So questions are something like that. What programs and platforms India has that are working towards global welfare? Because Bharat always thinks in between two extreme things. One is the Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinaha, and that survey is not limited to one or family or a community or the country. It's for the whole world. Universal welfare, isn't it? Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. Family relation, family approach is the only way that you can keep anyone and everyone happy all the time. If not family, there will be competition, there will be disparity, discrimination. So people can be happy, people could be angry. He got it, she got it, I didn't get it. All those complaints, they continue to go. So obviously we need to understand that the global welfare with the motto of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. Then how would the government of India envision just being part of it? The reason we want to do it simply because India is a vast country and the policies and programs are always controlled and determined by the government. So we need to make sure that we are in sync. We are not going to be stepping toes. We are not going to be enforcing. We are only impressing upon by increasing their awareness. And it is very clear in our minds that a lot of things are happening in Bharat. We are not going to bring something new and novel, something coming out of the world. But our goal is to only complement and supplement their ongoing efforts And here I want to bring the earlier what I said, the research organizations, what they are facing, the difficulties. So it doesn't matter which research organization in the country. It may be Council of Medical Research, it could be agricultural research, horticultural research, botanical, maybe food safety. Government is spending a lot of money, huge amount of investments. And there are very good organizations, very good institutions. They are doing world-class research. Their solutions are accepted by the world-class level. But what is happening to those research findings that can be the solutions? Unfortunately, today's system, they do not have investment to deploy those solutions to desired rural areas unless it is a specific project worked by academic institutions, private funding, something like that. So the government also is required, the research organizations also required, the rural areas needs to be connected by the deployment forces. That is where the role of GIST through Vijnana Bharati is very, very essential. Vijnana Bharati has several wings. GIST is one of the wing. We are just fortunate that GIST by itself will not be able to do much of the things because we don't know the ground reality. I can sit here and build huge stories, theories, and solutions, but when it comes to real ground, it is not going to work. Probably I'm going to tell a small story. You all know there was a competition about who is going to be landing on the moon first. And who are the competing forces? I've stopped sharing screen so that I can see some faces, if not all, while I'm telling the story. It is USSR at that time and America. What was the challenge? I am in the moon. I have to document many of the things. There was no iPad at that time. There was no smartphone at that time. And people have to use their smartness. And there's no time to think. So people staying on the ground has to do the research and supplement their thinking. So what did they do? They tried to invent so many things to write on a paper using an instrument, something like pen, but you cannot use the pen upside down or right way because there's no gravity. What is right way there? They spent millions of dollars, they say. It may be exaggeration, but they did spend the time and the money. And finally, somebody said, you know what? Why do we need an instrument? Don't you think a simple pencil would work? So things like that happen, right? So obviously, we need to make sure that where is the share screen? President, I'll go back. Entire screen. Okay, share. What happened? Are you able to see my screen now?
Yes.
Yes. So obviously, we need to make sure that we connect through Vijnana Bharati to all the local places so that the local areas, just like the pencil example I gave, could work. And also, India is really innovative country. There is so many cost-effective technologies, indigenous, local technologies developed. It has a place for application in many other places, but it's just sheer ignorance of availability of such technologies. It will not find its legs to go from one place to the another place. So this is what the platform can do. This is where the NGOs, when they come and exchange and the challenges they have overcome and how they have created the opportunity, will become examples that other rural areas can use for their own development. So at the end of the day, for the GIST, we need to build some success stories. So we have slowly started making some headway. Although the initial launch was 2010, unfortunately, somehow there was no traction on this one. From the past couple of years, we are slowly trying to figure out. And one of the brainstorming session we had is about, okay, the organization was formed more than a decade ago, about a decade ago in the conversation started, the latest conversation. But is the ground zero is still same? Is still just as relevant? Is it going to make any sense to putting our energy and resources in this forum? Or we have to do something different than what it was? After 2 days of intense thinking, apparently Shrikant Kulkarni ji was also there. My first contact with with a person who worked was Shrikant Kulkarni. And very recently I came to know that Gunesh ji also was part of those days. Deshpande. How come I am forgetting the first name? Mukund Deshpande, right? Yeah. So they are all part of that one. But any case, coming back to, we have identified what are our resources. We have identified a means through which we can reach to the local areas. And we also understand that we need to get more partners from government to NGOs and anyone and everyone in between. So obviously we need to build some success stories. So where can we put our energy? Scientific and technology solutions are required everywhere. And we are only a handful of people at this point of time. And unless we become efficient, we will not become effective. So for the efficiency point of view, today our thinking is that maybe staying outside with our acquired knowledge and the experience, maybe we can influence education area utilizing artificial intelligence. One example that always comes to my mind is the technical institutes that are in India. I know them for last several years ago, but I do not know the latest status. But I am assuming that there is very little change or moderate change. So what does it require? It needs upgradation because the tools and the equipments and the technologies what we are using today are different and advanced, and therefore the training is required. How can we do it? Can we utilize artificial intelligence also? It is for the skilling, it is for the job placement, job development, employability, and also there may be individuals who have very ambitions to become an entrepreneur. Can today's system able to provide? So that's why we'll be thinking of working in the education vertical. Guneshji, Omkarji, please alert me if I'm taking more time, and please let me know what time I need to stop. It is your 7 o'clock.
No, Yellowji, please continue. We have time.
Okay. In addition to education, nutrition, I always make fun, not for making fun of the people. It is just a tricky question. When people talk about malnourishment, it is not necessarily they're talking about the malnourishment. They're talking about undernourished. I will show you in next couple of minutes what is the difference between malnutrition and undernourishment. And in that vertical, we are looking into how can we have balanced diet, what is about Ayurveda principles, and the third vertical is agriculture. And again, here we are recommending use of artificial intelligence. Not that it is not happening in Bharat today. It is happening, but there's a reason which I'll lay out in next couple of slides. Another thing that we need to understand is that India has a huge amount of young population. There's always a brain drain from rural to urban areas. COVID is a situation which brought some reverse migration from urban to rural areas. Obviously, the job opportunities needs to be done because there are so many young people going back to the rural areas. So obviously, the vocational training schools and the models are already available, maybe in Europe or Germany and even in US. So we need to see how can we through GIST and Vijnana Bharati, help in creating new curriculum that is suitable to updated needs, incorporate modern science, incorporate engineering tools, the latest, along with the technologies. And in certain cases, you may have to do some research projects, engaging all the above for the benefit of learning on the one hand, and at the same time contributing back to the society. So it was sometimes, when the things are ripe, you get an opportunity right at your doorsteps. There was an event held in December, India International Science Festival. Everyone, including us, we thought that because of the COVID situation, we will not be able to do this. But in less than 2 months, they put the program and they said, just guys, you take this and you put a program and do whatever you want. And we did it. Honorable Minister of Health and Family Welfare, Dr. Harshvardhan Singh was there. Ambassadors were there. DST, Department of Science and Technology, CSIR. Many, many people came. And it was a wonderful 3-day session. Just because it was a global participation, we had this in the evening of India time, which turned out to be extremely advantageous because during the daytime, all these people were running around from one session to another session because of 41 parallel sessions were happening. Ours was in the evening, 7 o'clock. Everybody was jobless. Jobless meaning from the point of attending any of the event in India International Science Festival. So we had beautiful sessions on these 4 topics, and it went very, very well. And that has given us a lot of traction, and bodies in India have understood. There is an organization called GIST. It is working specifically to engage the scientific and technology diaspora present outside. And whatever the 6 degrees I mentioned, scientists, technologists, academicians, philanthropists, entrepreneurs, any individuals of interested one who want to give back to Bharat. They know it. In that, we had very nice presentations, so many panelists, chairs, moderators. In fact, we even had posters and exhibits in that conference. Everything was virtual. Whole IASF was attended by more than 130,000 people. That itself is a Guinness Book of World Records. They created so many other records, but that is for some other day. That falls out of this perspective. This is another initiative that we are thinking for this 2021. Uttama Ahar is Uttama Vichar. Awareness about positive nutrition. So why? Earlier I mentioned, right? What was the question? What is the difference between malnutrition and undernourishment? Let's take the example here. This map, what is shown on the left where my mouse is hovering is North America. And this is this orange circle. Orange circle is considered as nutritional values. If it fills all this area, including all these pies, it is considered as balanced nutrition. America, an advanced country. There's no dearth for money. There is no dearth for materials available. But what is our consumption? Not so good. We eat a lot of red meat in this country. They eat a lot of starchy vegetables. They eat lots of egg. And they use some amount of poultry. And there is some amount of dairy. When it comes to the fish, the vegetables, the fruit, the legumes, white grains, and nuts, they're all undernourished. This is malnutrition. Undernourished is you are well within the circle, you are not able to do anything. I want to eat, but it is not available. Now, look at where India is. India is also a similar situation. Only difference is, from the point of balanced diet, it is slightly better than America. But we consume a lot of starchy vegetables, potato, rice, kidney beans, chana, not chole, chana, not chole, not chana, those kind of things. So either way, irrespective of the economy, our awareness about what is the food that we need to eat, that is a balanced diet, there's a lot of awareness is missing. Transformation to healthy diets by 2050 will require substantial dietary shift. Global consumption of fruits, vegetables, nuts, and legumes will have to double, and consumption of foods such as red meat and sugar will have to be reduced by more than 50%. This was by Professor Walter Willett, MD, Harvard. Now, interestingly, people who are familiar with Ayurveda diet, they disagree with this. Why? Because the food consumption, the type of balanced diet that is required can be one standard, global standard, because we don't live in similar environment conditions. There is a difference between the tropical conditions, warm countries, cold countries. Appropriately, the balanced diet has to be balanced, taking environment and its impact into us. Now, interestingly, India, what is required is only this much in terms of the calories of growth, what we are producing, what we need. But where are we? We are almost 2.5 times more we are producing, but we are still undernourished. Why? Because this is the reason. There was a green revolution because of which we were able to increase our production, but it is not balanced. Now, this red line, whatever here, it is something like what is the amount of India should consume to fall in the balanced diet. You can see that all the top 5, mangoes, millet, rice, paddy, onion, sugarcane, they're all produced much more than what is required. Whereas what is required, which needs to be enhanced, is the potatoes, the wheat, fruits, vegetables, cereals, all these things. Their consumption has to be increased. In certain cases, production also has to be increased. Then we can call that we are practicing balanced diet. Now, why? Why do we need the balanced diet? I really want you to understand the contents in this slide, what is displayed and what is going to come in very soon. What does the experts in the world who are in the food, diet, nutrition, health talk about? They say that first of all, the nutrition to health we need to understand. Although at scientific level it is understood, in our day-to-day life we need to understand. Because the diet and nutrition play a significant role in physical and mental well-being. I'm not going to talk about what is physical and mental well-being. Those who are coming to Shaka, they know very, very clearly. Our well-being and the functioning is influenced and impacted by our lifestyle, the genetics, the environment, and the diet and the nutrition. Here, one thing is fixed: genetics. We can't do anything. We are inherited with some genes. We have to do it. We have to see how this genetic works in sync with lifestyle, environment, and diet nutrition. So this is immovable puzzle piece, whereas the other 3 we can think about it. And then if you look into the environment, we talk about global warming. Who are responsible? We. We talked just now about the sustainability. Do we think of the material that we use between the first breath after our birth till the last breath before we pass away? Do we think about it? What is our carbon print? What is the sustainability? What is my individual sustainability? My family, what is its sustainability? My society, what is its sustainability? All those things are somewhat a little bit dependent, not only my gene, but also my environment. A little bit less control. Now we come to lifestyle. Again, it is hugely in our control as well. Slightly better than the environment in our control, but not as bad as the genetics. So this is an important puzzle piece in our life. And obviously, diet and nutrition is very, very important. Why? Here you go. If there is proper nutrition, the brain development will happen properly. Physical growth of the brain, it takes only 21 years. Omkarji, I'm just reminding once again, just alert me 2-3 minutes ago so that I will stop.
Yes. So, Yellowji, we have 2 minutes more.
Oh, that's interesting. If I had not asked, then you would have said 2 more minutes. So I have 4 minutes.
I mean, we also have to carry on the questions.
Okay, no problem. I'll finish very soon. This is rest of the slides I can just screen through, but this is important. I want all of us to understand. So if the physical brain takes 21 years, and at that time, if it is not properly supported by nutrition, which is the balanced diet, then the cognitive skills of the brain are going to be left behind, undergrown, underdeveloped. The functioning of the growth will take another 2, 3, 4 years. That means about 24, 25 years total. If the physical growth is not there, then the maturity of the brain will take some more time. 25, it will be pushed to 28, 30. These are all the studies that they have done. They have taken the images of the brain and they have looked into cognitive skills and all those things. So in the early stages, the parents and the ecosystem helps in better diet and nutrition, the brain development leading to better cognitive skills. If they are in good shape, the learning will be in its best. That's why the families who are happy, well taken care, healthy practices, the children are always a little smart, outstanding, and their behavior is also positive energy all the time. And that positive energy translates into positive performance. It may be at school, maybe in our education, maybe at work, or maybe volunteer, whatever we do, we bring positive energy to the environment. That's why awareness about nutrition is very, very critical, and supporting that is even more critical. Ensuring that reaches from urban to local areas also very important. That's why this awareness is all about. In the past in India, we had green revolution. We saw 2.5 times production. We had milk revolution. Today, we are proposing Ahar revolution through Vijnana Bharati. And our objective is reach to students through teachers and through students to families, to society. And we partner with NGOs, governments, private sector. Objective is if we increase the awareness, you will have a better nutrition. If you have the better nutrition, the need is demanded, then agricultural planning can happen so that overgrown crops can be reduced and undergrown crops can be improved. So it is a circle that needs to go around and around years of duration, starting from teachers to students to families to the society. This is just the food chart, how it looks like, which has, I will show you what exactly. It will have the calorie content, it has the fiber content, the names for the vegetables and fruits. These are some flashcards, which are the promotion materials in this campaign. And the third, about understanding some solutions of the models, all those things. So we are going to have a conference in the month of June, July in New Delhi, global conference. With that, Omkarji, you said 2 minutes and I'm stopping.
Thank you, Yellowji. I think we can continue with this because it's very interesting for everyone. And you also covered, so going back to the topic, so you covered the aspect of gist, but regarding the nutrition, which I personally also believe that people should focus more on prevention rather than cure. And that is what exactly you are trying to convey with this nutritional message. So I also have a lot of questions, but I don't want to jump ahead of questions if people have. So I would request everyone else to please write their questions to Mukundji and Yellowji.